back to Coffee Break with Dani. If you're new here, my name is Dani, and today we're going to cook. Today is going to be a stupidly laughable, is stupidly a word? Stupidly easy, laughable, easy recipe. That made no sense, but you know what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is this is easy, everyone can make it. Everyone can cook, like Ratatouille says, okay? So today we're going to make the stereotypical, classic, traditional orange rice that you see at all Mexican restaurants, or maybe your abuelita used to make as well. We're going to keep it 100% traditional. So the way that it's done in most Mexican households. Now, before y'all try to fight me on this and take off your hoops, every household is different. There are some abuelitas that put corn in it. There's some abuelitas that put, you know, carrots in it, peas. Some make it with real tomatoes and they add their sazon. But this is traditionally how it's made in the majority of Mexican families that I know, and all of the Mexican restaurants that I went to in California, Mexico, here in Texas too, surprisingly, which is kind of nice. My sons call it orange rice, and it's like I said, laughably easy. You need what, 3 ingredients? You're going to need rice, you're going to need tomato bouillon or nor Suiza, you're going to need onions and garlic, and a liquid, whether it is a broth or a water, but you're going to need a liquid. Now, this recipe is cool because you can make it, you can adapt it to what your family likes. Does your family like short and fluffy grain rice, or do they like that long, skinny, traditional rice? We actually use Japanese rice to make ours because it requires less liquid and it's a lot fluffier. Not fluffier like loose where it crumbles. It's still really moist, but it just feels like a heartier grain. My sons love it. They ask for seconds and thirds. Parker's daughters love it. Parker loves it. I know for me, it was one of my favorite things growing up. My mom used to make it for me all the time, and she would add bananas to it. I know, weird. Once you cook it, you top it with bananas, and it's a delicious snack for kids, although I still eat it. So I want to show you guys how to do this because it is a very easy side dish. It is a very easy, very fast, very affordable side dish, and it complements basically everything. I've made it with wings. I've made it with tacos. I've made it with soup as like a side to like caldo de pollo or like chicken soup or albondigas. It's a side almost every day in my household. This is not something that I would recommend freezing. We talk about freezing a lot in these cooking videos. I'm a fan of freezing, but there's certain things that I just won't. This is not something you want to freeze. However, it is something that you want to make in a big quantity and keep it in your fridge, and it will last about a week, and you can rehydrate it and steam it really easy in the microwave, and it tastes freshly cooked. So today we're going to make arroz mexicano, and it is very, very easy. I'm gonna walk you guys through the process, and then I'm gonna show you guys the final product. I wanted to show you guys this side dish because I have made main courses on this channel before, and I think this would complement almost all of them, except maybe the risotto. Anyway, there is a playlist in the description box below if you want to see the other videos we've done. But for now, if you want to see how I do this arroz mexicano or Spanish rice, all you have to do is keep on watching. All right, you guys, making this rice is the easiest thing you're ever gonna learn to make. It is foolproof, it is so easy, and I guarantee even the pickiest person in your life, the smallest baby in your life, the oldest, pickiest person in your life, everyone in your life is gonna ask for either the recipe or seconds. So we need very, very little ingredients. We're gonna need some garlic cloves, we're gonna need some onion, we're gonna need some tomato bouillon, and you're going to need rice. The rice is up to you on what kind of rice you use. It's more cultural and family preference. I like to use short grain, and even though it's not traditional Mexican, it is amazing. I eyeball this recipe because I've made it so much since I was little. This was the very first thing my mom taught me how to cook. Before scrambled eggs, before toast, before anything, she taught me how to make her rice. And I found that it's one of the easiest things to do in a pinch, and everybody always likes it. So this is like my go-to starch when I'm making dinner. And I like to make enough where I can reheat it. It tastes really good when you steam it the next day or in like the microwave with a wet paper towel. Okay, here is a mom hack. If your kids don't like extra things in their food, leave the garlic like this. If your kids don't mind, chop it up really little like the onion. I like to leave it whole because I really just want the flavor, but I will notice that Parker will go fish this out and eat the whole thing. Some people do that. Hey, some people love garlic. But otherwise, I would say mince your garlic, okay? So if you have littles in the house and you wanna hide the evidence, you can either mince it so finely you can't see it, or you can leave it whole and then fish it out. So for purposes of this video, I'm gonna chop it the same size that I chop the onion because that's traditionally how it's made. So that is a really small dice. Since I already banged it up with the knife, I'm just gonna roughly pass my knife through it and you'll kind of get a visual as to the size of the garlic. All right, here's another hack. If you have a cutting board like mine that doesn't have the rubber feet, wet a paper towel under your cutting board and then your cutting board stays still. It's not gonna slide around. But when I was cleaning up earlier today, I used it and I never replaced it, which is why I wasn't prepared for y'all. So this is about the size that I like to go for, but my sons have started to catch on to my garlic trick. So I leave it whole and fish them out. But you want sort of like one step up from mincing. So mincing is still a little bit smaller than this, but I feel like this blends in really nicely with the onions and it gives it a nice uniform look. Next up is onions. Ordinarily, I use half an onion. Because I'm cooking for 10, I am going to use a whole onion. This is a basic white onion. It is not a sweet onion. It is not a yellow onion. It is not a boiling onion. It is just a standard run-of-the-mill, cheapest onion at the supermarket onion. I actually prefer when they come this small because I don't cook for many people. I cook for 3 usually, sometimes 4. And so I don't need that much onion. Usually I'll store half of it in the fridge, but when it's this little, it's very convenient. So you guys can see the size of the onion, very similar to the garlic. Uniformity is key when you guys are cooking because everything cooks evenly and at the same time makes your job a lot easier. We're gonna drop these into the pot at the same time. So if they mix together on the cutting board, it's no big deal. So that is all the prep that's involved with making this rice. That's it, nothing else. If you guys are going to add vegetables to it, I'll tell you when, but it's the frozen kind, so this is literally all the prep that you need to do for this recipe. All right, you guys, the fun part. You see our water is boiling. Now, if you wanted to do this recipe that's a little bit more nutrient dense, because it really doesn't have much right now, you would boil chicken broth instead of just water. You could do vegetable broth, you could do bone broth and use that as your liquid. But we're keeping it standard here, we're keeping it traditional, as I use avocado oil. You would normally use vegetable oil. I use avocado oil for everything. And the purpose of the avocado oil right now is to toast and brown our rice. I told you guys that I like to use short grain rice. Short grain rice is short and chubby. It feels meatier, it feels heartier, it's a little more fluffy. Traditionally, it's long grain rice, and that cooks faster. This one cooks slower, but also takes less liquid. I will put the formula or the recipe in the description box below. So I am going to make, I would say, 3 cups. I'm gonna make 3 cups of rice, considering all the onions and the garlic that we chopped. So I actually might need to compensate with a little more oil since I'm not just cooking for the usual amount. So I'm gonna add a little more oil. I preheated my pan to medium high. Right now it's at medium because we are going to toast the rice and we are going to make the onions and the garlic translucent. My favorite tool to use is a wooden spoon, not a plastic spoon, not a metal spoon, just a wooden spoon. I really like to use it because I feel better about scraping the bottom of a pan. There's something about scraping the bottom of a metal pan, that metal on metal, no bueno. But when you do wood on metal, it doesn't feel so bad. On medium-high heat, you are going to continue to stir until you toast all the granules of rice and they all are a light golden brown. At the same time, we are going to add our onions and our garlic. And the sound is gonna get a lot better. So keep going until your onions are translucent, your garlic is soft, and the rice grains are all a light golden brown. If you notice that your grains of rice are changing color far too rapidly, like they are turning dark brown really fast, lower your heat because you want to give enough time for all of them to toast and none of them to burn. After about a few minutes on medium heat and continuously stirring, your grains of rice will look like this and the onions will be translucent. So you want the house to smell a little nutty and toasted. This next part is a little scary and you could really badly injure yourself, so you have to be super careful. I turn off the heat and I like to move my pot off the directly hot burner. So I like to move it off just slightly. And then I'm gonna go in with my fluid, whether it is a broth, a bone broth, a stock. For purposes of this video, I'm using water just to keep it traditional. And I'm using short grain rice, which calls for less water than you normally would use. Usually with regular rice, it's 1 cup of rice, 2 cups of water. It's a 1-to-2 ratio. With short grain rice, it is less water. So I'm gonna go in with about 4 cups of water, and you wanna be careful. You do a little bit first to get that sizzle out of the way. Then a little more. Then it boils really hard. And then the last bit. Put your pot back on the stove, turn it up to high, and you want your water to be at a hard boil. You want it to come up to a hard rolling boil. This is what's going to give your rice the signature Mexican restaurant color and flavor. We're gonna go in with our favorite ingredient of all time, Nor Suiza tomate or tomato bouillon. You could find it at Walmart, you could find it at most grocery stores now. For this amount of rice, I'm using 2 tablespoons. So you use about 1 tablespoon per 1.5 to 2 cups, depending on how much you like the flavor. So I'm doing 3 cups of rice and I'm doing 2 tablespoons because I like the flavor. But you could get away with like 4 teaspoons, maybe 5 teaspoons would be a good amount. So it's at a hard boil. Drop it down to the lowest simmer you can achieve on your stove with the medium-sized burner and throw a lid on it. I'm not gonna tell you how long it takes to be done because where you live, elevation, whether it's a gas or an electric stove, whether you're cooking in Teflon or stainless steel, your pot could be ceramic, you could be using a stainless steel lid as opposed to a glass. So many factors affect the cooking time. This was done when the water is gone. This is done when the water is done. So I'll see you guys in a minute. All right, you guys, so how do you know it's done? Take off your lid once, and that's when you're ready to turn it off. Turn off your flame, and your rice should look like this. No water at the bottom. and it stays together just like that. So it's not wet, it's not sticky, but it does hold its shape when you use a spoon. That's how you know your rice is done. I really like making this rice because I can cook it in advance and then just microwave it or nuke it or keep the lid on it, and it actually stays warm and is very, very friendly at reheating. Traditionally, you will see this with corn, peas, and or carrots. So this is a dish that sometimes has one of each, all three, either one, a combination of them, and you would add those at the same time that you added the water, okay? I don't like to add any of that stuff because I find myself picking it out with small kids, but I'm gonna plate some of this for you guys and then we'll wrap up this video. All right, you guys, there we have our final product. So you see with the short grain rice, it's still fluffy and flaky, but it's really hearty. It's a very meaty grain. It holds its shape really, really well. And do you guys see the garlic in there? It's very invisible. So if you guys have picky eaters and you want them to get some delicious flavor in their food, like with onions and garlic, chop it similar in size to the rice, and I doubt they'll be able to pick it out. Now, if you guys don't mind, I'm gonna, I promise I'm not taking a bite right now. What I'm doing right now is not eating this amazing rice. All right, you guys, this concludes this cooking break with Dani. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget, if you guys do other certain things with this recipe or certain little hacks, certain little changes, certain little tweaks, let us know in the comment section below, because something as simple as rice has so many possibilities. I know a lot of you guys have really amazing ideas. Like we serve it with bananas. I know, how weird is that? But I follow this account called Me Too on Instagram, and they posted about this whole arroz con plátano thing, and it's totally a thing. I know it sounds weird, it's totally a thing. My sons love it. So if you guys do something like that with your rice, let us know in the comment section below. I love to start a conversation when it's about food. Well, when it's about anything, let's be honest. As long as this is moving, I'm happy. Cochina. All right, you guys, if you guys have any ideas, requests, questions, whatever, make sure you leave those in the comment section below. The recipe is listed in the description box below. But other than that, I think that's it. I love you guys so much, and you know what to do. If you found this video useful, entertaining, and learned something, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, this coffee break is over. Bye, guys. I bet you guys didn't recognize the rice because it didn't have its signature sandcastle shape.